Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Desktop Ball, the only football podcast where I sit at my desktop and talk ball. Today is October 8th. It is a Tuesday, and we have a big show recapping one of the craziest college football weekends that I've ever been a part of, and a very fun NFL weekend as well. No baseball today. Don't really want to get too into it. Maybe we'll do it on the Thursday show because the baseball playoffs have been awesome. But without further ado, let's go ahead and kick it off. And we had a long Sunday of football. Me personally, I was up at 8:30 in the morning, ready to watch the New York Football Jets take on the Minnesota Vikings in London at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Um, and the Vikings, okay, it's tough because I like to start with the winning team. So let's start with the winning team. The Vikings played pretty well in this game. Sam Darnold was not that good. Um, this is the first time this season Sam Darnold has looked human, and I think that's a big credit to the Jets defense. Um, and you lose Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler not efficient at all running the football. So there was very little run game, and they had to throw the ball like crazy and Sam Darnold didn't look good. The good news is that every single time that Sam Darnold threw the ball anywhere near Justin Jefferson, he drew a pass interference because Justin Jefferson is that good. And the Jets would not let him catch the ball. I think he drew 5+ pass interference calls this game, and that's ridiculous. And it's not even like an exaggeration. I think he drew at least 5 pass interference calls in this game. Just absolutely ridiculous how good he is. Um, he's either going to beat you with his hands or he's going to beat you by getting the refs to throw a flag. Uh, it was very Joe Flacco Ravens-esque of, run a route, miss the receiver by 5 yards, but you missed him so bad that he has to run through a defensive back and they call pass interference. So maybe that can be a winning formula for the Vikings. Me personally, I'm a Justin Jefferson fantasy owner, and I would prefer that Sam Darnold just hit my guy in the hands. That way I get fantasy points. But you can, shit, in the NFL, you gain the same amount of yards. So if you want to get pass interference calls instead of catching the ball, that works. On the Jets side, which is the much more interesting side of this game, in my opinion, um, a few things. One, Breece Hall and Braylon Allen are two of the more talented running backs in the NFL. Think in your head right now. Guess. Where do the Jets rank in the NFL, in the National Football League? Where do the Jets rank with two very good running backs in rushing? Take a guess. In rush yards. Do you think top 10, top 20, top 30? What if I told you they're dead last? What if I told you the Jets are 32nd in rush yards? Would you believe that? It's true. It's the unbelievable truth. With Breece Hall, who is one of the most talented running backs in football, Braylon Allen, who's probably the most talented backup running back in football. It's maybe disrespectful to Tyler Algier, but he's up there. Braylon Allen is that dude. This offensive line is so pitiful, and this offense is so stagnant. They are 32nd in rush yards. In this game, they target Garrett Wilson 22 times. What? 22 targets. He comes down with 13 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. He played well. Good for Garrett Wilson. But it's very clear that their only way to move the football is to spam the Garrett Wilson play. It's like all they have. Alan Lazard is not that guy. Mike Williams, credit to Mike Williams, they're not getting him involved at all. But he's looked good when they throw the ball up to him. He's a guy that can go up and get it. He's not a focal part of the offense. It's Tyler Conklin and spamming the Garrett Wilson play. And the O line is so bad, they hand the ball to Breece Hall and he gains 1 yard. And we all know how talented Breece Hall is. There's just no way that we're putting that on Breece Hall. The offensive line, it gets no push. It's absolutely pitiful. Uh, and then they fire Robert Saleh. I mean, the main story of this game is Robert Saleh. He might still be in London. I don't think they let him back on the plane. They fire him. Robert Saleh is a defensive head coach. Aaron Rodgers wants to bring in Nathaniel Hackett, who sucks, Alan Lazard, who's 58 years old, and he wants to run an offense where they stand still. They are in the bottom five, that probably last in pre-snap motion, which watch any Rams, 49ers, Vikings, like watch any Shanahan system, Dolphins offense that's exciting, and we shouldn't include the Dolphins in that right now, but watch any exciting, dynamic offense, and they're throwing guys in motion. The Ravens are throwing Zay Flowers in motion every single, like all the time. Why wouldn't you? At the very minimum, do you want to know whether it's man or zone before the play? Like, wouldn't it be nice to just like throw a guy in motion? And it's not even that hard. It like, hey Garrett, line up on my left side, then run to my right side, and then we'll hike the ball, and then we'll know whether we're in man or zone. I know Aaron's one of the best like post snap readers of defenses, but why make it why make it hard? Throw a guy in motion. Your offensive line sucks. Like you whatever. And you fire Robert Saleh when the defense, which is he's a defensive head coach. The defense has been good. You brought in Aaron Rodgers to be the offensive guy. He brought in Nathaniel Hackett to be the offensive guy. It's not Robert Saleh's fault. Robert Saleh, I don't even think is that good of a coach. Like you want to fire him, fine, fire him. But don't act like he's the problem. I mean, this offense is what's been the problem all year. They have a bad offensive line. They can't move the ball, and the whole plan is to throw it to our only young athletic receiver in Garrett Wilson 22 times. You're not going to win a lot of football games that way. You're not. Bears 36, Panthers 10. Caleb Williams has been playing awesome football. He's got 10 straight quarters now of awesome football. DJ Moore was that dude in this game, and the run offense, which I'm not a long-term believer in. I don't think has been good. I still think the offensive line is bad, but DeAndre Swift ran the ball really well in this game. Even Roshan Johnson, who they're mixing up as a goal line back, is doing well. Andy Dalton, it was nice that one game that they won against the Raiders, where remember when they benched Bryce Young and they brought in Andy Dalton? That was fun. That was good fun. And it was a lot of fun to watch him stand in the pocket and throw strikes. It's still Andy Dalton, guys. Like let's not, he wasn't gonna turn the franchise around. It's this guy was a backup on the Cowboys. He was a backup, in 7 other places that I don't even remember. He's not the savior of the Panthers. But Bryce Young came in the end and completed a couple passes, looked okay. Like I guess that's kind of nice. Maybe up his trade value a little bit. I'm surprised. Am I surprised? I don't know. I thought maybe somebody would go trade for him, but maybe it's just not going to happen. The Bears are good, and since we just talked about the Vikings win, this division is good. Preseason, nobody thought the Vikings were, I think their win total was like 5.5, 6.5. Like they were not projected to be anywhere near as good as they are. They're gonna hit their win total in 7 weeks probably. The Bears are good. Their offense is starting to actually be convincing, and their defense is no joke whatsoever. They've got one of the best, if not the best, secondaries in the league, and they're playing great ball. Bears are very good. How about the Packers? Well, the Packers are really good. They can win with Malik Willis, and their offense is good, and their defense is good. Xavier McKinney might be Defensive Player of the Year. We'll get to the Packers, and the Lions are the Lions. I mean, we know the Lions are good. So best division in football, only division where the whole division is above 500. And I mean, you got to put some respect on the Bears. They're 3-2. They have a stretch coming up. So it's Jaguars, Commanders, Cardinals, Patriots. In those 4 games, you gotta win 2 or 3, right? Like you should be hoping to win at least 3. Winning all 4 of those games would be nuts. I don't know whether they're gonna be able to beat the Commanders, but they should be able to beat the Jags, Cardinals, and Patriots. If you win those games, I mean, you're on your way. You're on your way to a potential playoff berth. So I think there's a lot to be excited for if you're a Bears fan. And I think Caleb is good. I've always thought Caleb is good. Never a doubt that he's going to be, a franchise quarterback level guy. Like he is very, very talented. I don't like him, but it's not really about whether I like him. I mean, you can watch the guy play football and know that he's good. He had a few USC Caleb Williams moments in this game where it was like, okay, yeah, like there's Caleb. There's Caleb spinning away from defenders and escaping and looking downfield and hitting guys. Like much more reminiscent of the Caleb we're used to than the Caleb we saw in week 1 that only had 85 passing yards. He's going to be good. If you're on the Caleb hater side, you're really like you're on the wrong side. Like it's time to admit it. You're wrong. Ravens 41, Bengals 38. Uh man. So the Okay, I hate overtime in the NFL. The overtime rules suck. However, it didn't end up mattering this time. Um, but overtime rules suck. It looked like the Ravens were going to effortlessly move the ball down the field and win. They end up fumbling. The Bengals get it. They go 3 run plays on a day where Joe Burrow was absolutely dealing, had almost 400 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. He's Joe Burrow's absolutely dealing. Jamar Chase looks like the best receiver on the planet in this game. You get the ball back in overtime, you run 3 run plays, and then you botch a 50-yard field goal. Ravens take it the other way. They've got Justin Tucker. He's not going to miss. Game over. Um, and Derrick Henry breaks one because your guys have been tackling Derrick Henry for 60 minutes and they're tired. Uh, the Bengals defense is bad. They are going to be in many shootout games like this, and their offense is going to have to be so good if they're going to win, if they're going to even like make the playoffs. Um, I mean, we'll talk about Alabama later, the Crimson Tide. They're very reminiscent of the Alabama Crimson Tide this year, or pick a Lincoln Riley Oklahoma team, like so good on offense. There's no doubt that they've got an elite quarterback, elite weapons. Their offense is so fun to watch, but their defense is really, really bad, and they're probably gonna have to win a bunch of shootouts to be a real contender. And it's hard to win shootouts. I mean, like shit happens. You botch the snap on the game-winning field goal, and now it's going the other way. So disappointing game if you're a Bengals fan. They had this game. They had it many times. They had it, and they just could not win the game. Uh, Lamar owns the Bengals. Lamar is awesome, and the Ravens are so for real. Um, Huge win for them to improve to 3-2. Uh, in my mind, I mean, there's no doubt they're going to win this division, and they're a very real Super Bowl contender. Um, Pounded the Bills last week, beat the Bengals this week. Just a lot to be excited about if you're a Ravens fan. They're very, very good. Um, Water break here. Sorry. Got to do it. All right. Dolphins 15, Patriots 10. I said last week you're a sicko if you watch this game, and I was right. You're a sicko if you watch this game. Um, just 2 sad, sorry teams. Somebody had to win, um, and there's really not a lot to talk about. Ramondre was benched going into the game, and he actually ends up playing quite well. Has a touchdown, no fumbles, so that's good for him. The Dolphins did enough to win this game, so good for them. Um, I love that the Patriots are not going to play Drake May. I absolutely love that they're going to let him watch, not put him out there to get murdered with the worst offensive line in football, and give him the time to develop. It's the danger though is that you could lose the locker room because if you're the coach and everybody in the locker room knows who like which quarterback gives them the better chance to win, and I'm assuming that's Drake May. At least I think it's Drake May. Um, if everybody knows it, the players know it, you're not fooling them. Um, you can definitely lose the locker room by not playing the guy that gives them the best chance to win. I mean, if you're a player and you're thinking, okay, well, we clearly don't care about winning, so I'm gonna go out there and, I don't want to get hit hard. I don't want to block hard. Like I don't want to, get myself injured. I got my future career to worry about here. You could absolutely lose the locker room doing something like that. That being said, a lot of these guys might not be in the locker room in the future because the Patriots are really bad. And Drake May is supposed to be the future of this franchise. You gotta do everything you can to set him up for maximum success. I love what the Patriots are doing with him, and I hope that they wait till, at least like week 12 or 13 to put him in if they're gonna put him in at all. Commanders 34, Browns 13. Man, I'm struggling over here, guys. Just need to like just take a full breath, you know? Sometimes when you're just talking so much, you run out of oxygen. I gotta get some air in these lungs over here. But anyway, Commanders 34, Browns 13. The Browns are just the saddest organization in football. There's no future. There's no anything. It's just sad. This team was in a playoff game last year with Joe Flacco. You let him walk. Uh, this team had won its first playoff game in, 20 years, 5 years ago, 4 years ago with Baker. You let him walk. Um, you sign the worst contract in the history of the National Football League to bring in a many time sex offender and just like dog shit human being who is washed. Um, just doesn't look like he cares about playing football. Doesn't look like he wants to win. The Browns are just an absolute embarrassment, and it like a lot of times you look at teams and you want to evaluate players and coaches and scheme and like all this stuff. Sometimes you just need to look at a team and just look at the logo because the ownership and the culture is so dog shit that there's just no way that team will ever figure it out. Um, and the Browns are like that team. It's like the Browns and the Raiders are those teams. And you can make an argument for the Jaguars, who we'll get to. Commanders, you're awesome. Jaden Daniels is awesome. Um, if for me as a Giants fan, I'm absolutely, kicking myself. A, that Jaden Daniels is in the division. We have to play him twice a year. B, that we couldn't beat the Commanders earlier the year when we absolutely outplayed them because we're probably not going to beat them later because they're starting to really figure it out. Terry McLaurin is awesome. Brian Robinson is playing well. The defense actually played well in this game. Granted, it's the Browns, but like these guys get paid to play football too. So good job by the Commanders. You're a really good football team, and I don't know how many teams in the league would, if you could trade your quarterback for Jaden Daniels straight up, how many teams are saying no? The Chiefs, maybe the Bills, probably the Texans, like especially if you count that he's on a rookie deal and you don't have to pay him for 4 years. I mean, look out. Look out. And I think that there's going to be some upheaval in the NFC East. The Commies, they might win the division, but there's a day of reckoning coming for the two teams that have gotten used to just pushing around the other two teams in this division. I think that the Cowboys and the Eagles have grown very comfortable just collecting wins against the Commanders and Giants. I think both of those teams are seriously rounding a corner. I think that the Commanders have already rounded it, and I think the Giants are a year away. I would, God, do I say it? Next year, I would not be surprised if the Commanders and Giants finish top two in the division. And I would not be surprised if this time next year we're all saying the Commanders and Giants are clearly, like far and away, the best two teams in that division. I'm especially worried about the Cowboys. I think the Eagles will figure it out probably just because they have really good roster. But the Cowboys are spending just ridiculous amounts of money on a quarterback that is just not that great. Um, Jaguars 37, Colts 34. There are no winless teams in the NFL anymore. The Jaguars get a win over the Colts, who are bad. The Jaguars are also bad, but Trevor Lawrence played well in this game, so that's nice. Tank Bigsby was very good in this game after losing Travis Etienne. That's nice. And yeah, I mean the Jaguars get a win over a reeling Colts team who has not looked that great this year, especially on defense. Joe Flacco played pretty well. I mean, you put up 34 points. That's good enough to win most weeks. It just happened to not be enough this week. And yeah, I mean, just two not very good teams going at it in the AFC South, which is a division where only one team is really any good. I thought coming into this year, like, oh, maybe like the Colts are good, the Jaguars are probably going to be good, and like maybe the Titans will improve. The Texans are definitely good. Like maybe the AFC South is going to be fun. Nope. It's another one where you just got to look at the logos. Like, no, the Titans, the Jaguars, these teams are not good. They don't find ways to put it together. They just don't. Um, that being said, one team in the AFC South, check out the transition work. You like that? You like that transition? Yeah, I'm a fucking professional. That's what I do. Speaking of the AFC South, Texans 23, Bills 20. The Texans improved to 4-1. And all right, there are 40 seconds left. The Texans, the game is 20-20. Texans punt the ball, give it back. Did they punt or did they score and give it back? Whatever it was, it's 20-20. Give the ball back to Josh Allen on his own 4-yard line. 40 seconds left. Bills have no timeouts. Texans have 3 timeouts. Josh Allen is clearly concussed. He, I mean, like a truly mismanaged, almost like I don't know, because Josh Allen probably said like, no, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. But I mean, I almost want to say like you could like Josh Allen's fucking girlfriend, like Haley Steinfeld, should be suing the Bills for gross negligence and sue them for medical damages because they let Josh Allen, who was so clearly concussed, go back out on the field and they have him throw 3 passes, 3 incomplete passes. The Texans use no timeouts. The Bills punt fucking to the 50-yard line because they're on their own 4. And the Texans walk down, 10 yards. Kaimi Fairbairn, who's one of the best kickers, if not the best kicker in the NFL, drills a 59-yard field goal. They walk it off 23-20, and we're all left wondering, like, what the hell was that late game management? Um, Josh Allen was 9 for 30 in this game. They're clearly missing Stephon Diggs. They clearly need a weapon. And maybe they'll enter the Devontae Adams sweepstakes. A lot of people say, oh, it just makes sense to trade for an aging receiver after you just traded away an aging receiver. How about just admitting you were wrong? Saying, yo, we actually kind of need a decent receiver on this team. And Diggs was maybe a bit of a locker room cancer. Fine. You get rid of Diggs, say whatever haul you got from Diggs, which I forget, give it up. Give it up and go get Devontae because you need it desperately. This team is dying for a wide receiver, especially without Khalil Shakir. And the run game has even been good. Like James Cook has been good, but you have to be able to threaten a real passing game, and there was just no threat. Josh Allen was 9 for 30 in this game and concussed, and the late game management was awful. Broncos 34, Raiders 18. Sean Payton and Bo Nix were going at it, screaming at each other, which I love. I want my young quarterback passionate, to believe in himself, not to just sit there and nod or ignore Sean Payton while he's yelling. Dude, Sean Payton, he knows quarterbacks, and Bo Nix, it looks like a very coachable, very competent human being at quarterback. You beat the Raiders. Pat Surtain had that nice 100-yard pick six, which was awesome. Are we patting ourselves on the back for beating the Raiders? Normally, I would say no. We're not patting ourselves on the back for beating the Raiders. However, the Broncos have not beaten the Raiders 8 straight times. They were on, I think, an 8-game losing streak to the Raiders. So apparently the Raiders fucking own the Broncos, and somehow just I didn't know this. I don't know if anybody did know this. But the Broncos finally snapped that streak. I think Bo Nix is looking better and better every time he plays. On the other side, Brock Bowers is that dude. He is so that dude, and I think the people upset about drafting Brock Bowers, like I get it because it doesn't really matter because this team doesn't have a quarterback and this team is not good. But maybe now with an elite pass rush and some weapons, if you were to draft the right quarterback, maybe all of a sudden you're close. Maybe you're closer than you thought you were. Um, that's sort of what happened with the Texans, is like Nico Collins is good, and they have a pass, or they draft Will Anderson, they develop a pass rush, and they get these young pieces together, and they just so happen to hit on all of them. And when you hit on everything, your team is really, really good. Are the Raiders going to be able to do that? Probably not. Again, look at the logo. It's the Raiders. Like, they will fuck it up. But maybe if they like, I think they have some really exciting pieces. Max Crosby is awesome. One of the best and absolutely like the most underrated pass rusher in the NFL. Brock Bowers is awesome. You're going to get rid of Devontae Adams and set yourself up for the future with some picks and some pieces. If you get the right quarterback, there's real hope for the Raiders. I honestly think. Um, the most Raiders thing in the world would be to draft Shedeur Sanders. And maybe Shedeur Sanders is that guy. So, like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not an elite quarterback evaluator by any means, but it would just be so Raiders to take Shedeur Sanders. I can see him in a Raiders uniform today. Um, and I wonder whether Dion would be like, yo, my kid ain't going to the fucking Raiders. Um, all that to say, nice game for the Broncos. You get a win. It's over the Raiders, so don't put too much stock in it. But it's a nice game. Cardinals 24, 49ers 23. Big win for the Cardinals in a game where you know, the Niners, dude, they're missing McCaffrey. I said on this show earlier in the year, and I really did believe it at the time, that McCaffrey was relatively plug and play, and that while McCaffrey's absolutely elite, don't get me wrong, um, that this team would be good enough without him to win games, make the playoffs, and that they shouldn't even consider bringing in McCaffrey until they make the playoffs. Well, shit. It looks like they're gonna need McCaffrey. It looks like they're gonna need him soon. Um, they're they're just stagnant, They're asking Brock Purdy to do a lot, and Brock Purdy's good. I like Brock Purdy, but they're asking a lot of Brock Purdy. Um, on the Cardinals side, they looked fast, young, twitchy. Trey McBride looked awesome. Kyler Murray is so exciting and fun to watch. Um, and both of these teams, it's very interesting because I still think the 49ers are better than the Cardinals. I think most people do, but you got to put it together. You got to win games. It's very similar to the Bengals. Like, you have to win games, and it's just not happening. Um, so I guess they need McCaffrey back, and I don't know. I mean, up 23-10 at halftime. Don't score a single point in the second half. It's just unacceptable. This team has Super Bowl aspirations. You can't have halves of football where you don't score points. You're too good for that. Brandon Ayuk was awesome in this game, which is nice to finally see because he struggled to open the year. And surprise, surprise, once he gets some reps under his belt, he's starting to play well. Um, Almost as if training camp and showing up to training camp is helpful to these players. Because it took him about 4 weeks to figure it out, and that's about how long training camp is. Quick swig of water, we'll get to Packers Rams. Alrighty. Packers 24, Rams 19. Um, this game was weird. I thought this game would be a shootout, and it really wasn't. Like, it was not high flying and fun the way I thought it would be. But always fun to see these two coaches go head to head. In my opinion, two of the best, if not the two best coaches in the NFL. Nah, I like Andy Reid better, so I'll say two of the best. But yeah, I mean, these teams going head to head, it's always fun. The Packers offense I thought would look a lot better in this game against the Rams, and it really didn't look that good. Um, and the Rams I thought were gonna struggle a little more on offense, and I mean, they played okay. Um, but ultimately, I think the Packers just are healthier and just better than the Rams, and Rams just were not able to keep pace with these Packers, even though Jordan Love had that awesome pick six where he's diving to avoid the safety and just tosses it right to a defensive back who takes 2 steps forward for a pick six. It's funny. It's it's I hate the Packers. It's funny for me to watch the Packers struggle. Um, they still find a way to win. They're definitely better than the Rams. And yeah, I mean, good teams tend to beat bad teams. I think that's what happened in this game. For the Rams, we'll pay some respect to the Rams. They need to get healthy, and I think they're going to be okay. The defense is bad, and it's a problem. And they're probably not a playoff team because if Puka and Cup are, if they miss like a single another game, you're in trouble. The good news is the bye week could not come at a better time. They're going on bye. They're going to come back next week or the following week, week 7, with their full offensive roster. They're going to be ready to go. And that's a really good thing for them because they need those guys desperately. I love Jordan Whittington, hook 'em horns, but he's not, he's not an NFL number one option. And, you know, he is good though, dude. I really like Jordan Whittington, but he's not an NFL number one guy, and everybody knows it. This is a massive win for the New York Giants. Giants 29, Seahawks 20. Um, and this was no fluke. The Giants outgained Seattle by a lot. The Giants controlled the ball the entire game, and looked like the better team the entire game. In my opinion, the 100-yard return touchdown on the fumble that the Seahawks had, in my opinion, was a touchdown. And I want to talk about officiating. And I don't mean to make it like like the refs are screwing the Giants or anything like that. It's not that. I loved that they let Seattle play, right? Like that they Tyrone Tracy, who was awesome in this game, or was it Eric Gray? I forget. Somebody, a Giants running back, dives in the end zone, holds the ball, right over the goal line, and the ball comes out. Whether the ball was over the goal line or not when it came out is hard to tell. So they let the Seahawks play. The Seahawks pick up the ball, return it for a touchdown. However, if you're making that let them play decision because you're not sure in the moment, because how could you be sure? Ball's under an entire pile. That means, in my opinion, and we saw a very similar situation in Miami, Virginia Tech last week in the college game, the rule of okay, well, this is what we ruled on the field, so we need the Lord Jesus to come down from the clouds and tell us personally that it was a touchdown. Otherwise, we just have to go with the ruling on the field. Well, when your ruling on the field was, I don't know what's going on. If your ruling on the field is, I have no fucking clue, then why is it that we then go to review and we expect and it has to be absolutely incontrovertible? It looked like a touchdown to me on review. I would have let him play as well because in the moment there's 17 fucking guys on top of the ball, so you can't tell. But when you go back and watch the replay, if the call on the field is I have no idea, then it shouldn't have to be 100-0. It should be yeah, that was probably a touchdown, right? Like isn't that a logical, reasonable way to approach that? And I think it's even fine. Like I would be cool if they said if there was literally a call. And for those of you who don't know, I was a spike ball player in college. So a spike ball, the game where you play basically volleyball on the floor. It's what we do when we disagree on a call in spike ball is sometimes we go to our referees, our observers, and sometimes our observers say, "I didn't see it. I didn't have a call," because in spike ball, similar to football, they it's a 360-degree game where sometimes bodies are in the way, and I, as a ref, cannot see what happened. There are 17 dudes piling the ball on the goal line. The ref cannot see what happened. So we're taking his call on the field of I have no idea as divine intervention, and we have to have absolute concrete replay guaranteed fact um, evidence that it should be overturned. It makes no sense. Because if the call on the field is I have no idea, and I've said this 100 times at this point, but if the call on the field is I have no idea, then the review should be it was probably this, and we would go with it. Because it just makes sense, right? It doesn't make sense that the call on the field is this just like this divine thing that we can't touch unless we know for an absolute fact. Because the call on the field was literally a guy throwing up his hands and saying, like, I don't know. And in spike ball, we do, we replay the point if we don't know, which is not, it's not good for the NFL. But we don't have video review in spike ball. Spike ball, if the refs could look at each other and say, I don't know, let's go to video, and then we have to make a call, but there's no call on the field. There is no call on the field. So there's nothing to overturn. We're just going to go to video and make a call. Soccer does this well because they have the VAR with an offsides where they let them play and then they go back and they look at the footage. And if you were offsides by a pixel on the replay, you were offsides. But in football, we just cannot figure this out. The ref must make a call on the field, and then we must have incontrovertible evidence that that call was wrong. It's bullshit. Anyway, that's my tirade on officiating and rules for the week. Usually it's about where the touchback is, but there was nothing that pissed me off about touchbacks this week. Just the review system, I think, is awful. Um, that being said, the Giants were so much better than the Seahawks in this game, and it showed. And this is a big win. On the road, you're flying home with your boys, and you just punked a team that is good. Um, a team that looked good on Monday Night Football last week. They were 3-0. They looked good against the Lions. They were absolutely inept against the Giants today. This score is not at all indicative of how this game went. And without Malik Neighbors, without Devin Singletary, the Giants go to Seattle and just punked the Seahawks. I'm just elated about how this game went, and it makes me want to believe a little bit. And Daniel Jones played well, guys. Daniel Jones has played well for another straight week. He's played well. He's played well this season. It is like the gross unfortunate truth is he's played well this season. I don't think we should extend him. I don't think that we should even keep him on his contract. I think that we should cut him because his first 2 years of the contract were guaranteed. That ends this year. But he is playing well. He absolutely outplayed Geno Smith today. He played very, very good football today. He played very good football last week, and he played well against the Commanders. He played all right against the Cowboys. The underthrows on deep balls have been a problem. He had a nice deep ball to Darius Slayton for a touchdown in this game. So, no, he's not the guy. No, you cannot win a Super Bowl with Daniel Jones. But the Giants are close, guys. The Giants are way closer than people think. And I think it's become this like funny meme to be like, oh, the Giants suck, Daniel Jones sucks. Dude, I think that the Giants are way better than people realize. They have the best pass rush in football. The offensive line is very good. They're turning Tyrone Tracy from Purdue into a guy who can average, 6 yards a carry. They made Devin Singletary look good. We've got Darius Slayton going for 122. Malik Neighbors has been good. This team is way closer than people want to admit. And maybe that's just because I travel in a lot of Cowboys circles that it feels that way. But this team is closer than people want to admit. Seahawks are still a good team. I think they'll figure it out. Let's check out their schedule. Big game against the 49ers Thursday night. They'll probably lose that. Oh, man. They have some tough games. Falcons are tough. Bills are tough. Rams will be tough at this point. Then the Niners again, which is tough. Man, I don't know, guys. The Seahawks might not win that many more games. I think the Seahawks are good too, but they play a lot of good teams. We'll see. Cowboys 20, Steelers 17. The Cowboys defense is absolutely awful. And in this game, they were missing DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. And the Pittsburgh Steelers went out and ran their 1942 offense, and it didn't work. Shocker. It didn't work. Cowherd talks about this all the time. They lead the league in defensive spending. They're dead last in offensive spending, and it absolutely shows. Their defense is really good. Their offense is absolutely awful. Justin Fields he has good moments, but he also has moments where he just looks completely incapable. Pat Fryermuth is this team's leading receiving threat, which is a problem, an absolute problem. The offensive line is bad. They they struggled to run the ball. And they didn't like struggle to run the ball, but if the Steelers get behind the sticks for one play, or if one run gets stuffed, they're punting because the drive is over because they cannot gain more than 4 yards per play. Um, so yeah, I mean the Steelers went out and played Iowa football, and the Cowboys tried to hand them the game, and they couldn't take it. They were handed the game and they could not take it, um, which is just embarrassing. It really is. And I like Justin Fields. I still think he's better than Russell Wilson. Um, and I still think he should be a starting quarterback in the league, but he needs a weapon. Like Justin Fields is not a guy who can go. He's not Pat Mahomes. He can't go out there with a stapler and duct tape and carve up like defenses. That's just not what he does. And the play calling is sad and boring, and the talent is lacking. It just sucks. It's sad to watch, especially because I'm a Justin Fields guy. Like I really believe in the guy. Um, Now for the Cowboys, who are another just dog shit franchise. Um, First, uh, it's not a good thing for the Cowboys to have won this game. Like it puts you no closer to any of I don't know. I mean, are you, it depends on what you think your goals are. Do you think the Cowboys are a Super Bowl team, or are you living on planet Earth with the rest of us? Because if you think they're a Super Bowl team, then yeah, this is nice. Like maybe you guys are gonna make the playoffs, and maybe this time the Niners won't beat you in the first round, or whoever it is that you play. But I mean, my Cowboys fans friends were telling me, it's a bad thing for us to win this game. It's bad that we're gonna win this game because we just get to keep getting away with this mediocrity. CeeDee Lamb is okay. Well, first, Dak throws an absolutely awful pick. Just like inexplicable, throws it 10 yards short and into double coverage. It's the easiest interception for the Steelers DB that he's ever had. He just walks up, catches the ball. CeeDee Lamb, maybe justifiably so, but it's still an awful look. Is mouthing off to Dak on the sideline. This is a second in 5 weeks. This is the second attitude game for CeeDee Lamb where things are not going well and he's bitching and moaning and yelling at Dak and body language is awful. Um, and I'd be concerned about that if I were a Cowboys fan. The defense is still really bad. I'd be concerned about that if I was a Cowboys fan. We're paying Dak the highest of any quarterback in the league, and he's not that great, which is a problem if you're a Cowboys fan. That being said, uh, Dak was Dak did what Dak needed to do at the end of this game to win this game, um, which is just even more embarrassing for the Steelers. CeeDee Lamb was after mouthing off. I don't know if it was intentional or otherwise, but was I don't know whether he caught a ball after that moment. Like I don't know whether he was even targeted after that moment. He was a complete non-factor. So you face the Cowboys, who are already bad, without DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, and basically without CeeDee Lamb. They have no run game. And you lost to Jalen Tolbert and Jake Ferguson. They gashed you, your most expensive defense in the league, when it counted at the end of the game. And you could have moved the ball against one of the sorriest defenses in the NFL. It's a problem. It's a problem for the Steelers, and the Cowboys are still bad. It was tough to watch. And Al Michaels, no, Al Michaels, Mike Tirico, and Chris Collinsworth. We get it, dude. You stayed at the game late. How many fucking times are you gonna tell us that you stayed at the game late and that it got delayed? Oh, it was midnight here, Mike. Oh yeah, Chris, we're real fucking tired. Okay, we get it. Jeez, it's football. It's fun. Have a little fun. You call one game a week. And then last night, the Chiefs beat the Saints, and the Chiefs are way better than the Saints. And there's really not that much to talk about in this game, other than the Chiefs keep finding a way, even though they're not playing their best ball. Mahomes had some ugly moments in this game where he's basically, I mean, it's basically a two-man rush from the Saints, and Mahomes looked panicked in the pocket, spinning away from imaginary defenders and panicking, whatever. Travis Kelce had that fun lateral play, which is cool. Travis Kelce, I mean, he's fun. Um, say what you will about the guy, he is fun. And the Chiefs are just a better team. They're one of the 5-0 teams in the league, along with the Vikings, and they find a way to win games, even not playing their best ball. And when this team rounds into form in the winter, which they will, they are going to be one of the teams you need to worry about winning a Super Bowl, which they probably will. That's it for the NFL. If you're just here for the NFL, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you're here and you want to talk a little college ball, which it was a awesome college football week, then I need 3 seconds to drink a little water here because I'm dying, and then we're going to talk some college football. Hope you keep hanging out. All right, let's go. Um, okay, so crazy, crazy, crazy college football week. Let's start with the game of the week that everybody was talking about, which was Clemson, Florida State. No, as much as I want to talk about Clemson and how good they are, Vanderbilt 40, Alabama 35. I love Joel Klatt. Joel Klatt is my favorite college football talking head, and he has been saying all season that this Alabama defense is bad. Not just like the Alabama defense needs to figure it out or anything like that. This Alabama defense is genuinely bad. And you like there are guys running free, there are missed assignments, there are glaring red flags, very similar to the Cincinnati Bengals, like we talked about moments ago with the NFL. And Georgia in the second half showed it. Um, and it just so happened that Georgia spotted Alabama 30 points in that game, so they were unable to come back and beat them. But I mean, you talk to Carson Beck, he will tell you we're going to beat that Alabama team the next time we see them. We figured them out. And you talk to Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt, who's an absolute dog, by the way. And he'll tell you the same thing. We got their defense figured out. This was not a fluke. Vanderbilt pushed Alabama around on the offensive line. The Alabama Big Bad Crimson Tide, who have the biggest, strongest guys every single year, they got bullied by the Vanderbilt offensive line. They were pushing them around, running the ball effortlessly. Any type of read option, four guys dive at the running back, and Diego Pavia walks through the gaping holes in the offensive and defensive line to the linebackers or even the secondary. I mean, this was no fluke. Alabama is going to play in a lot of shootouts. The good news for an Alabama Crimson Tide fan is that Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe are two of the most electrifying players in the country, and you're going to score a lot of points. But this is the first time you didn't score 40 and you lost. What does that say? It says I mean, if you need to score 41 points to win a football game, you're not going to win every single football game. You're going to play in a lot of shootouts if you're Alabama. And the offense is really good. It's really good. And Ryan Williams is a freak. And he had another freak moment in this game where it's like, oh my God, this is the most talented wide receiver I've ever watched play football in my entire life. And then you have, your 17 friends tell you, oh, he's 17 years old. 17 is my favorite number today. I've said it like 100 times already. But this offense is really good. This defense is not just like needs to figure it out. This defense is bad. This defense is genuinely bad. And it's going to be a problem. All right. Let's continue in the SEC. Arkansas 19, Tennessee 14. This is the Tennessee offense that put up 1 billion points on NC State, who was ranked at the time, and looked like they could just do absolutely no wrong, have looked bad on offense. I'm less worried about Tennessee than I am about maybe some other teams that we'll get to. I think that Nico's surrounding, supporting cast is still really good. Still good enough to win plenty of games and contend. But I mean, this one's inexplicable, really, because you go on the road to Arkansas, who's really bad. They're really, really not good. And you only score 14 points, and Nico is holding the ball way too long. He's got to get the ball out. And I mean, the last play of the game, the clock management is awful. He runs the ball out of bounds, doesn't even bother to throw it with no time left on the clock. Just some moments where it's like, oh yeah, like these are college kids, like they do stupid stuff. Um, and Arkansas just outplayed them. You got outplayed by the Arkansas Pigs, and and that just shouldn't happen if you're a top four team in the country. Shouldn't happen if you're Alabama, but it really also shouldn't happen if you're Tennessee, who who I think is probably even a better team than Alabama. Plays better defense, definitely, and has looked at moments like the best offense on the planet. Just another inexplicable one. I think Tennessee will be okay, but man, like that is seriously concerning if you're a Volunteers fan. And the path had opened wide, like the path was wide open. Just keep winning games, you know. Alabama already has a loss. Georgia took a loss. Um, Mizzou, who we'll talk about, takes a loss. Everybody but Texas has a loss in the SEC. All you had to do was just keep winning games, keep beating bad teams, and they couldn't do it, which is really disappointing. Let's go. Let's keep it in the SEC. Yes, we're going to talk Miami Cal. I'll get back to it. Let's keep it in the SEC. God damn it. We have to give props to the Texas A&M Fighting Aggies on this show, which we do not want to do. But they deserve it. They absolutely beat the brakes off of this sorry, pathetic Missouri team. Missouri is so pitifully bad. And the fact that this team was ranked top 10 in the country is embarrassing. The voters who vote on this stuff saw a logo that played well last year and said, fuck it. They played well last year. I'm sure it'll be the same this year. This Missouri team is not the same as last year. They are nowhere near as good as they were. And even last year, it was super fluky. This team is not that good. They should never have been top 10 in the country. All right, we did Missouri. Texas A&M played really well in this game. You got to give them their props. Connor Wegman, who looked absolutely awful against Notre Dame, looked pretty competent in this game. Texas A&M looked pretty good. They were able to move the ball. They look good in SEC play. And the really scary thing, the really, really scary thing is their only game left in SEC play that's like serious is LSU, other than the Texas game. So if you're a Texas fan, you need to prepare yourself for the eventuality that this Texas A&M team is going to beat LSU, who is also overrated and bad. And then they will probably lose to Texas the last week of the year, but it is Kyle Field. It's going to be a tough place to play. And they very well could make the SEC championship, which is crazy, but it's possible. They played almost nobody. I don't believe in that LSU team at all. Mississippi State is bad. South Carolina is bad. Auburn is super duper bad. So where's the loss? Where are the losses that A&M is not going to be able to get into the SEC championship? I mean, let's say Texas runs the table. Theoretically, let's say Texas runs the table. That means Georgia has another loss, so it's not Georgia. Do you think this Alabama team's not going to lose another game? I think this Alabama team's going to lose another game. I think they'll find a way. Their defense is bad. Let's look. Let's look. Alabama's schedule: Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, Oklahoma. Could they lose one of those four games? Yeah, they could lose one of those four games. And then the Iron Bowl. They could lose that game too. I mean, are they going to? No, probably not. They're probably going to beat all those teams. They'll be favored in every single game the rest of the year, but can they consistently week in and week out win these games? Who knows? Well, they need to run the table to make the SEC championship most likely, because as we talked about, it's possible for a team like the Texas A&M Fighting Aggies to go the whole way. Let's look at Tennessee. They've got one loss already. Who could they lose to? They play Alabama and Georgia. You think they're not going to lose one of those? They're going to lose one of those. I promise you they're going to lose one of those. Let's look at Georgia. They've already got a loss. Well, they play Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Are they going to lose one of those? Yeah, they probably are going to lose one of those. So you got to look at teams that have maybe some cupcake schedules. We can look at how do I pull up Oklahoma via this? This is a little ugly to do it this way, but I'm sure it's fine. Let's look at Oklahoma. Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, Alabama, LSU. And they've already got a loss to Tennessee. Yeah, they're going to lose another one. I promise you they're going to lose another one. So in the SEC, all of these good teams, and the only one I'm missing is Ole Miss, who here they are. Let's look at them. LSU, Oklahoma, Georgia. Ole Miss is maybe the only team that has a real shot at being a one-loss team, but A&M doesn't have a loss yet, and Texas doesn't have a loss yet, and even LSU. Let's look at LSU. Ole Miss, A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma. They'll probably lose at least one. So you need to be prepared for a Texas versus Texas A&M game at Kyle Field that at the minimum will determine which one of those teams goes to the SEC championship. If not, will be a rematch the next week in the SEC championship. It is super possible. It is super, super possible. And this Texas A&M team is probably a little better than I have been giving them credit for. They looked horrible against Notre Dame. And I have been carrying Texas A&M against Notre Dame in my brain, and I'll admit it. I might be wrong about the Aggies. They might be a little better than I think they are. Are they, a national championship contender? Absolutely not. And you're fucking kidding yourself if you let yourself believe it for a moment that this team could win a national championship. But could they sneak into the playoff? I mean, it's starting to look like it. It really is starting to look like it. And I can't believe it. I really can't because this team looked so bad against Notre Dame. They looked so bad. Washington 27, Michigan 17. Michigan's just got nothing. They've got nothing. They bring in Jack Tuttle at quarterback, who actually played pretty well in this game. I went back and watched a little bit. Alex Orji's definitely not the guy. Davis Warren's definitely not the guy. Jack Tuttle looks like he could be the guy, but Michigan is just not they're just not that good. They're really just not that good, and we all know it. We've watched enough of this Michigan team. Both Washington and A&M were favorites in these games. So while it's an upset on the ranking, it is not an upset in real life. These teams are just not that good, is the honest truth. Michigan is not that good. Washington beats them. The Washington team that just lost to Rutgers, by the way. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And Washington's a tough place to play. Big Ten teams are going to learn that. It's a tough place to play. But, yeah, I mean, they find a way to beat Michigan, who's just not that good. Minnesota, 24. Ranked 11 USC, 17. Minnesota finds a way, just bully ball, just physical bully ball, beats USC. And there's a formula to beat USC. It's play tough Big Ten football. Michigan was able to do it. Minnesota is now able to do it. I'm sure that other teams will be able to do it as well. USC isn't built like a Big Ten team yet. It's not yet. Miller Moss is really good, and he's fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, this USC team is not able to physically contend the way that you would think, or the way that you would hope. Now, the Lincoln Riley philosophical transition was probably never going to be a one-year thing. They're probably never going to win a national championship the first year of Lincoln Riley committing to, building a better defense and being physical and being tough. But this kid Miller Moss is really good, and you're wasting him. And whether or not the next quarterback, I mean, it's Lincoln Riley, so I'm sure they'll figure out the next quarterback. But it sucks to watch a guy like Miller Moss go out there and he can't win games because his team is just not good enough. Um, it sucked for Caleb last year. It sucks for Miller this year, and I'm sure it'll suck for the next guy if they're not able to figure out the physicality. And Minnesota's playing well. They're 3-3, which you almost can't believe. But let's pop out Minnesota. They lost to North Carolina in a game they absolutely should have won, and then they probably should have beat Michigan last week. The Iowa game, they got punked, and that's fine. They got killed. But this Minnesota team's not that bad. They could make a bowl game. They could beat UCLA. They should beat Maryland. Probably should beat Rutgers. Could definitely beat Wisconsin. Maybe could even beat Illinois. I think Penn State's the only like absolute loss they have left on the schedule. So I could see it happening. And I think Minnesota's good. I mean, they're a physical team that's the ball they want to play, and they took it to USC today. They did a great job or today on Saturday. All right, let's find other games that are interesting. Clemson gets a big win, or at least, you know, Clemson 29, Florida State 13. Florida State's just so pitiful. Um, Clemson is good. Clemson, I think, is going to win the ACC. I've been saying it for a while. I've been beating the drum. I think Miami is good, but I don't trust them. Do you trust Miami? We'll talk about them in a moment. I don't trust them. Clemson gets a big win. Ashton Jeanty should be your Heisman front runner, and he is your Heisman front runner. Boise State 62, Utah State 30. Ashton Jeanty 13 carries, 186 yards, 3 touchdowns. Is averaging, what is that, 15 yards a carry and 3 touchdowns in that game? Just ridiculous. He should be your Heisman. I mean, in my mind, there's just absolutely no doubt. I mean, he is just that guy. Um, SMU 34, Louisville 27. Respect the ponies, dude. You got to respect the ponies. They're playing good ball, and honestly, this is another team. Could they sneak into the ACC championship? They don't play anybody. They play Pitt, Virginia, Cal, Duke. Uh, Mentally prepare yourself for an SMU versus Miami or Clemson ACC championship. How interesting would that be? Because it absolutely could happen. Uh, and then okay, let's scroll back up and talk about Miami Cal because Miami Cal was fun. Um, this was a game that it was super late at night, and many unsuspecting Americans who don't eat, sleep, breathe, and love football might have turned this game off. And you you would probably be justified in doing so because this game was over. Cal had won it. Cal was blowing Miami out. It was, we're gonna talk about how Miami's not that good and you can't trust them. Look how fun this Cal team is, and they get game day and then they upset Miami. It was gonna be, another brick in the wall of upsets that was this day. Cam Ward is just too good, man. Cam Ward is just too good. The Hurricanes absolutely roared back. Um, Came back from down. I don't even know what it was, like 35-18 or something like that. It might have even been worse. Um, yeah, it was at one point 35-18. Just just awesome stuff. Cam Ward is so so good. And this kid is it Xavier Restrepo? Is that his first name? It is Xavier Restrepo. He is so good. He's so fun to watch. Um, and he was good last year. Cam Ward is just insane, and he belongs in New York for the Heisman. Ashton Jeanty should win it, but Cam Ward absolutely belongs, and he's just so awesome. He's so fun. That being said, do you trust Miami? I don't trust Miami one bit. I do not trust them one bit. They are going to lose one of these games if they keep playing like this. Um, let's pop it out and see. Fortunately for Miami, they play literally nobody. So they're probably going to win out, and they should appear in the ACC championship, which means that SMU needs to lose because we need this Miami Clemson ACC championship. And I don't know how it gets decided if, like, what happens if undefeated Clemson undefeated Miami and undefeated SMU all get to contend for like who's out. I don't know how the tiebreakers work in that scenario. And that's one thing about big conferences. Like you could have multiple teams go undefeated, or in the SEC, I mean, with the SEC, you might end up with like seven one-loss teams. What the hell are you going to do then? I have no idea. But anyway, should be a lot of fun. Let's talk about the AP poll. Texas goes to one, Ohio State two, Oregon three, Penn State four. Uh, One of these things is not like the other, and in my eyes, it's Penn State. I don't think Penn State is as good as these top three teams. I don't think they're as good as Georgia. But what are you gonna do? They're 5-0. They keep winning, so fine. You want to put them over Georgia? Fine, I guess. I don't think they're better than Georgia. Put them on a neutral site against Georgia. Who's favored? There's no way it's Penn State. You play Georgia versus Penn State in the Chicago Bears Stadium. I think Georgia is a 8.5 point favorite or something like that. Um, and maybe I'm just too low on Penn State. Like maybe they're better than I think they are, but I don't think they're a top four team in the country. I don't think Penn State thinks they're a top four team in the country, but who knows? Maybe they are. The top 10 was all SEC. Now get ready to respect the Big Ten. Ohio State and Oregon are both a lot of fun. Ohio State's probably the best team in the country, and we just haven't gotten to see it yet. The good news is we're about to get to see it. They play each other, Ohio State and Oregon, this week. It's in Oregon, and that game is going to be so, so fun. The slate next week is awesome. Texas has Red River. That's a big game. So all three top three teams are playing in big games, and Penn State even has USC, who's decent. So the whole top four are playing decent teams. That's fun. Um, Alabama drops to 7. Georgia's at 5. And I get it. Like they have head to head and people are clamoring for it. Um, Dude, you lost to fucking Vanderbilt. Okay? Like if you're a team that is capable of losing to Vanderbilt, you are not a top 5 team in the country. I don't care if your ceiling is we can beat Georgia. These top 5 teams, maybe Penn State. These teams do not lose to Vanderbilt. It doesn't happen. Like they are too good on defense especially. And maybe it's not even fair to include some of these teams, but like Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, like the teams that you're trying to contend with, they're not losing to Vanderbilt. Like it just won't happen, you know? Um and Alabama's defense is bad enough that they find a way. So I think it's right, even though I get it, like you have head to head. I get it. Why do they play the games? Oh, why do they play the games? Well, they you know that they played another game. They played another game where they lost to Vanderbilt. Okay? Like yeah, like how good are you if you can lose to Vanderbilt? If your floor is that low, you're not a top 5 team in the country. And Georgia is. Sorry, I guess. Miami's at 6, they don't deserve to be. Whatever. Everybody else lost, so Miami can be at 6. That's fine. But do you trust Miami? Honestly, do you trust Miami? No. Tennessee, Ole Miss at 8 and 9, fine. That second tier of the SEC, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, fine. Um, of these teams, who has the highest quality loss? Well, that's fine. Alabama has the highest quality win. So you want to put them over those two teams? Fine. Go ahead. Um, Clemson at 10. Clemson lost to Georgia. Um, should they be over Ole Miss or Tennessee, who lost to shitty teams? Yeah, probably. Will they be? No. But I think Clemson's getting disrespected. I think they're better than people think. Shout out to Iowa State. That's a nice spot for them. A&M, Boise State, Kansas State. I think is getting a little bit too disrespected. I think Kansas State is really good. Um, Missouri, sure, you can put them at 21 if you want. Michigan does not belong. Get them out. Get them out immediately. Um, and then yeah, like USC, that's tough, but you clearly don't belong. You got to be more physical. You're gonna play in the Big Ten. You got to be physical to win these games. So I don't know. I don't have a personal list made. I'd like to see Clemson a little higher. I think that the Georgia over Alabama thing is right, even though a lot of people hate it. Honestly, I think it's right, and I know that sucks, but it seems to be the right decision in my opinion. Um, and Miami in between. I don't know. I don't know. There's just so much mediocrity. There's so much mediocrity. And it's not like last year, where, in my opinion, last year there were like six teams that really could win the national title. And maybe this year there are two. There probably are. But last year, um, Alabama, well, okay, we'll start at the top. Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama. Those top four teams in the playoff last year all had a very real shot at the national title. Um, all four of those teams were really good. Georgia had one loss to Alabama. They probably should have gotten a shot. Um, let's go to Oregon, was really good. Florida State was 13 and 0. Anybody else? No, not really. So about seven teams last year, or is that eight? Somewhere between seven and eight teams last year were serious, and it would have been an awesome year for the 12-team playoff. This year, I'm not as convinced. I'm not sure that there's more than four or five teams that are for real. Think Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Alabama on the right day, Tennessee on the right day, maybe Penn State, maybe Miami, but like, do you really believe in those teams? I don't think so. So I don't know. It'll be fun. The 12-team playoff is going to be awesome and super fun. I don't mean to make it seem like I think it's not going to be fun. I think it's going to be a blast. And if you were to do it today, um, it would be a lot of fun the way the bracket would shake out. It would be a lot of fun. There would be a lot of really fun games. I think we all need to prepare ourselves, and I'm excited for this personally. I think it's an awesome thing. We all need to prepare ourselves for four seed Boise State because it's going to happen. The Big 12 is bad. Big 12 is truly bad, and they're going to beat each other up. And I don't know, like, unless it's Iowa State, I don't know who's going to be over Boise State. Utah's not going to win the Big 12. BYU, I don't think is going to win the Big 12. I think it's going to be Kansas State. And I guess Kansas State will get enough marquee wins in the process that maybe they'll be able to jump Boise State. But wouldn't it be so sick if Boise State ended up with the four seed in the college football playoff? I mean, it would just be hilarious and clearly showcase why giving teams auto buys based on being a conference winner is stupid. In the basketball tournament, if you win your conference, you are guaranteed a bid. But we're not putting, imagine last year, right? Um, or I mean, pick any year, really. Pick the year where, and not everybody is this deep into college basketball, so my apologies. But pick the year where Virginia, North Carolina, and Duke all got one seeds in the NCAA tournament. Or pick any year where the Big 12, where Kansas and Baylor got a one and Texas got a two, Iowa State got a three. Like, these things happen. Could you imagine if the college basketball playoff was structured in a way that um, Baylor wins the Big 12, and therefore every other conference winner has to be seeded above Kansas? Could you fathom that? Like, one seed Baylor and seven seed Kansas are like equally good, and that could, maybe eight seed Kansas, and that could be a round two game because fuck it, you know. I mean, it's so stupid, and giving teams auto buys based on being a conference winner is stupid. You should get auto bids. I don't mind auto bids. I think that's very reasonable. You want to say, okay, ACC, you're guaranteed a bid. That's great. Clemson, you are guaranteed to get in if you win your conference. Miami, you're guaranteed to get in. Boise State, if you're the best group of five team, you're guaranteed to get in. Fine, that's great. But you want to tell me that fucking Kansas State should be the four seed and Georgia or Texas or Ohio State or Oregon or Alabama or Penn State should be the five seed because they're second in a good conference and somebody else was first in a bad conference. It's stupid. It's stupid. And they should get rid of the auto buys. That's all I really have to say about the 12-team format. I think it's going to be a blast. And I hope that there's upsets. I hope that, those home games are going to be just the most electric thing in the world. It's going to be a lot of fun. But There's always room for improvement. I think that the spot for improvement is get rid of the auto buys. Definitely give auto bids to the top five conference winners. You want to do that? I think that's super reasonable. But we could end up in a situation where Boise State is the 4 seed if we continue with this stupid plan, which I think is a stupid plan. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. That concludes today's episode of Desktop Ball. I hope you're enjoying your day in corporate America or school or wherever it is that you are. Um, Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share it with a friend. Follow me on TikTok. Whatever else you want to do. Interact with the show in some way. Leave a comment. Tell me, shut up about college football and college basketball. We're only here for NFL. Whatever you want to say. I'm happy to hear your feedback. And I'm looking forward to it. So, all that to say, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you all, your beautiful, lovely faces, um, Friday for our next weekend preview. Should be a good one. It's going to be a great college football weekend next week, and it's going to be a pretty good NFL slate. It's not a great NFL slate, I'll admit it, but NFL's NFL, baby. We'd kill for this in the middle of July. So strap in, get ready. It's an awesome football season, and it's an awesome, awesome life. All right, I'll shut the fuck up. Thanks for watching. Bye.